David is our first one here in Arkansas to help me change the face of Arkansas and the surrounding areas, because there's people here. Let's see, we got people from Missouri. Anywhere else? We got Oklahoma. Where else? Kansas. There's three. We got a Texas. That's Texas. Fantastic. So okay. Oh, okay. We got quite a few here. We're changing the face of the world here. So
the state of Alabama, I'm finishing up on this. State of Alabama, in my talks that I've been doing for about the last 3 years, I tell people how to properly get married. And that is with a family Bible. It costs you about the same price or less than a marriage license. And you get a family Bible that has the extra pages in the front and the back. And that's where you record your family events. Childbirths, marriages, all those kind of things. You record the event, date, time, place, who's in it, who's officiating it, and get a couple of witnesses who attend, signature. And then you take your Holy Bible with the stuff that's written in it, the event that's written in it, and you take a copy of it and you go record it at your county courthouse. Now, in the state of Alabama, they went through this process. They took me seriously, and they said, well, the state of Alabama will no longer issue marriage licenses. Isn't that cool? You get a family Bible, you record the event, you take it to a probate judge in the state of Alabama, and he will properly publish it and properly record it. And it is Public Law 97-280 by Congress that the Bible is the law.
What if you're Jewish? You don't live in Alabama?
Does it matter what religion? Take the Torah, right?
Yeah, the Old Testament.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But the Bible is recognized. We have freedom of religion in this country. Doesn't matter what religion. Okay. I've written this about a dozen times, and I keep slightly changing words on it. In one of my classes, there was somebody listening whose name was William Moffett. William Moffett is a very famous name in the United States. There's been 5 generations of William Moffetts, and every one of them has done something extraordinary and special. But about 30 years ago, the most recent William Moffett, who's now 70 years old, retired and living in Montana, started the World Benefit Church. And he created an organization called Voice of Youth. And he did it for one reason and one reason only, not to have a congregation of people that he's teaching every Sunday, but to be able to go to governments all over the world. He's been to every country and spoke with every world leader for the last 30 years. And he spoke at The Hague in front of the United Nations and the United Nations Human Rights Division. And he's spoken on behalf of the children and their families. And William Moffett listened to one of my classes, and he bugged me for about 3 months, thinking that I didn't have enough time on my hands. And he made me an ambassador of the Voice of Youth. And he did it because of this story. And this is a story that we all ought to know, we all ought to print out, and we all ought to share with every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth, especially in the 197 United Nations countries that have been under the Crown Inc. rule. Okay? A mother, 9 months pregnant and about to deliver her precious child, unknowingly walks into a foundling hospital. A foundling hospital. All hospitals in the United States in 1908, remember I had 1908 to 1933 up there? in 1908 was designated hospitals and churches as foundling hospitals. What is the legal definition of the word foundling? It is a safe place to abandon a child. Somebody can walk in with a child, set it down inside of a hospital or a church, and walk out with no repercussions. Yeah, oh my, right? I heard that. Okay? Foundling hospital. One of the first acts of Congress that had to be put in place in the United States. Now, everything in the United States is also in England, and Canada, and Australia, and Ireland. Okay? I can go on and on and on. It just happens at slightly different times. Okay? I can show you where just about every law in America is a law in England. They usually preceded us by 200 years to 150 years to 50 years. They did it first, but we've adopted it. Okay. The mother goes through a major medical procedure, commonly known as childbirth. She is in extreme pain, which means she's under duress. I want you to listen carefully to the words I'm using. Often under the influence of painkillers, just happily looking forward to getting home with her bouncing baby. When she is brought and handed a stack of papers to sign and merely told, now I've given this speech in front of nurses before, and they say that's exactly what we're taught to say. Merely told that these are just to give your baby a name and register it with the state. That's the exact words the nurses use when they hand the mom the stack of papers. So without any full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the securities contract, without a meeting of the minds, she signs as an informant. You ever looked at your birth certificates? Look at where the mother's signature is. It says signature of informant. What is the legal definition of the word informant? It is someone who gives someone else up to another. Police officer gets one of the little drug dealers and catches him up on something, and then for a little extra cash, he talks him into informing on the larger drug dealer. He becomes his informant. It's someone who gives someone else up to another. Okay? Thereby, under the false and fraudulent doctrines of parens patrae, that's Latin, which means the state is the parent, and in loco parentis, which is Latin, for crazy parenting. Loco is crazy, crazy parenting. She unknowingly gives equitable title to the state's Department of Human Resources. As Bill Clinton signed executive order, I forget what number, it says Human Resources is the department that handles human capital. You're all capital, human capital. Forever to be known as human capital or chattel property. EI is slave. The named vessel, a persona, is registered. I'm saying it this way on purpose. What is registered? It's a flag. It's given a flag. The ship, the vessel is given a flag. It's registered. Okay? It's also given a CUSIP number, C-U-S-I-P, which is an SEC regulated investment control number. And that's created. A Sesta QV trust is set up under the Public Charitable Trust. The Public Charitable Trust is an umbrella trust. Inside the umbrella is all of us, 327.2 million people, Sesta QV trusts. Under the public charitable trust, it says we're supposed to be the co-trustee and co-beneficiary and only signatory officer. We are supposed to be the co-trustee, the co-beneficiary, and the only signatory officer under the public charitable trust. The government holds the public charitable trust. Then they did something with it. Sesta QV Act was originally started in England in 1666. The bubonic plague was going on. So they burnt half the city down to kill the plague, kill the rats. They had to rebuild. Nobody had a home or businesses. London was burnt. They had to rebuild. So the government came up with the CQV, enslaved everybody, and they bonded and insured them, created a monetary system based off the people's credit, their labor. The only thing we truly have is our labor, our works, right? As God says. And they created the Sesta QV Act. 1707, more countries adopted the Sesta QV Trust Act. We adopted it in 1933. So all your crown countries adopted it in 1777. All your commonwealths of England. All right? We adopted it in 1933. Edward Mandell House, with a small group of bankers on Jekyll Island, said, we know how to fund government forever. We can make it the biggest, largest, most powerful control group system in the world. We can control the world with our Sesta QV Trust Act. Okay? What does that do? It creates a balance sheet. Everybody knows what a balance sheet is, right? Debits and credits. Balance sheets must balance, right? So, on the debit side, if you were born between 1933 and 1975, the International Monetary Fund issued $630,000 of Federal Reserve notes and threw them out into the public charitable trust for you to go out and earn and collect. They just printed a bunch of money, a bunch of paper. $630,000 worth in various denominations, and they threw it out there to the public. They also insured you for $1 million. That's why your birth certificate's on bond paper. It's got a bank name on it. It's got a CUSIP number at the top. It's a bank actually bonded, insured through our Federal Reserve System, usually the Great Northern Bank, and bonded and insured you as chattel property, $630,000, a $1 million insurance policy was the collateral for them to release the money. They had to be insured. The IMF ain't that dumb, right? They wanted their money insured. If we're going to release $630,000, we want to be insured. There's a reason I keep saying that. On the credit side, $630,000 worth of United States Treasury bonds are sold under the CUSIP number as an investment account. Guess what? It balanced. And this is insured. In 1975, the amounts were increased to 1 million and 2 million. Now guess what? You think that's the end of it? You also went out and got a Social Security number. They did the same thing. Social Security number is a CUSIP number. You got a driver's license, it's a CUSIP number. A military ID, CUSIP number. Your advanced degree in college, your student ID number. As you improve in life, they think you're worth more money, so they bond you and insure you again, and again, and again. And they tie all those future CUSIP numbers back to the original birth number. They're all linked.
Baptism certificates?
Not that I know of. I'll just say it that way. Okay? CUSIP numbers. Debits, credits. A loan, this is a loan from the IMF. This is the United States Treasury issuing bonds. What are bonds? The full faith and credit of the United States government. You. All your labor. So, guess what? What else is a CUSIP number? Court cases. Yeah. Yeah. I proved this in federal court in the 9th District. Okay? I showed where all crimes are commerce. All crimes are commerce. You get arrested on a felony count of fraud, $2 million is taken from your Sesta QV trust by the court for one count. $2 million per count. If you had 4 counts of fraud, that's $8 million. That's how much that court gets. The judge gets $95,000 in net retentions. I proved this in federal court. Net retentions. That's a polite way of saying commissions. The prosecuting attorney gets $50,000. This is a judge, prosecutor. Now you have what? Defense attorney, person defending you. Do you know the judge and the prosecutor chip in? They give him out of their share. It's supposed to be a 4, but I can't write upside down. $20,000 each. Now you, and I'm using an actual case, paid your defense attorney $27,000. You wrote him a check to defend you. But on the back end, he gets $40,000 if you're convicted. Whose side's he on? Right? It's called railroading. To lead someone down a narrow path or rail to a predetermined outcome or conclusion. I can read almost every court transcript in this country and show you the fraud of railroading. Because I know how to read the court transcripts. I can see where people's motions have been denied. Their witnesses have been denied. Their legal documents have been ignored. They're not properly defended or defending themselves. Or their defense attorney is sitting on his tough, trying to be nice here, because normally I'd cuss at that point because I get irritated and mad at this, and not objecting. He's not repudiating. He's not objecting to anything the prosecutor says. So you pay him to sit there, and if you say, hey, how come you didn't object? He says, shh, not right now, we'll have our turn. See, his job as an actor to a turn, I'll get to you in just a sec. An actor to a turn is to get up on stage and act convincingly enough to make you believe in the plot and the character that he's playing. So he's acting as your buddy, your defense attorney, your best friend. And he's making you believe by his performance that he is not attorneying you when he is attorneying you. What was the definition of a turn? To steal from one and turn over to another. He stole your life. Because for one felony count of fraud that's worth $2 million in the court, you go to jail for 5 years. For 4, you got 20 years. Okay. Are you mad yet? See, my job really here is to piss you off. Because if you guys don't get pissed off at what I'm saying, then you're not going to do anything about it. You're going to go home, watch TV, and watch the Razorbacks, and you're going to go back to your daily life on Monday and go to work. Until you get darn good and mad, maybe you'll start doing something about it. And I ain't here for my breath. I'm here to teach the teachers. I'm going to go fishing someday. I'm not going to be doing this 8 city a month thing and not even living a life at all. And I've been doing this a long time, and I'm getting tired. I love you guys. I'd keep doing it probably till the day I die. I'm not joking. But at some point in time, I might die. I almost did in March. And I'll tell you that story in a little while. But your job is to take the simplicity of the knowledge that I'm giving you, where you can sit down with a husband and wife in a restaurant on the back of a napkin, and you could draw some of these little descriptions like this, and you can tell them about the public charitable trust and about where power comes from in this nation and about authority. And you can give them, you can piss them off. So they'll do something about it. It has to be simple. It has to be duplicatable. It can't be too complicated. We don't need to know about every writ of habeas corpus and writ of mandamus and error coram nobis, and I can go on and on and on. Okay? We don't have to know that. What we need to do is we need to go out and get a whole bunch of people pissed off. And I'm serious. We have to. Because until they're good and mad about the things that are happening to them in their lives, what about foreclosures? What about your kids being taken, your grandkids being taken, without any due process of law? Both laws that set up Child Protective Services, Title IV and ASPA, say in the law that they cannot take your children from you without your consent. They can't do it, except for one exception. If you have been charged, tried, found guilty, and sentenced in proper due process of law to a felony, then they can come take your kid while you're in jail. And they must place it with a family member first. If there's no family members who will step up to the plate, then they can put it in a foster home. Because somebody's got to take care of the kids. I fostered 2 of them. Okay? Proper due process of law must be followed. You're first. Go ahead.
I'm just curious about public defenders. Do they make $40,000?
No, that's your defense attorney. And it depends on the charge. It's called a penal sum, and they put it... All right. I'm going to answer this question because it's real important. I was going to do it tomorrow, but we'll do it today, and I won't have to do it tomorrow.
If you answer that question, we're going to piss everybody off.
I hope so. Because I'm telling you, if you're not pissed off, you're not going to do anything. I'm sorry, you'll go home and watch TV. You'll get caught up in soap operas or whatever. All right? What is the new one my wife watches? Oh, the guys who run obstacle courses. Yeah, that's it. See, I don't watch TV. It's a waste of time. I don't watch sports either. Those were designed by the Romans to distract us so the Romans could steal everything the people had. And our country's doing the same thing. All right. A penal sum. The federal government, the district postal courts of the government, the court clerk is the head banker. The head court clerk at every federal district court is the head banker. Most people think it's the judge. No, it's the court clerk. Mary, in Portland, Oregon, at the 9th District Federal Court, which is 7 states, by the way, their headquarters is in Portland, Oregon. Mary, Judge Mosman's the head judge over all the other judges, but Mary controls the books. Okay? And she goes online with the Department of Fiscal Services. Who are they? Oops. Who are they? They're the accountants for the United States Treasury. That's the accounting department of the United States Treasury. They keep track of everything fiscal. Okay? And Mary, upon indictment, fills out an SF 273 form, which is a bid bond form upon indictment. What is an indictment? An indictment is a true bill. They're giving you an invoice. You have just been indicted. Here's your bill. That's what they did. And how many people are smart enough to go, well, how much is the bill? How much is it? Well, the penal sum you've been charged with for a count of fraud is $2 million. Oh, crap, I can't pay that bill. I just don't have it. Right? But that's what the indictment would say if they disclosed the money. Because that's the penal sum. This is the penal sum for that particular crime of fraud. That's how much the bill is on your indictment. But you can't pay the bill, and you didn't bother to ask how much it was anyway. So they bring you up on charges. If you can't pay the charges, you're asked to bond. If you can't pay the bond, your body is held as surety while they steal from your Sesta QV trust. So in order to steal from your Sesta QV trust, she's got to do a bid bond. A bid bond says this person's been indicted, and there's a penal sum of $2 million on that. We're going to put in a bid bond. And on the bid bond, it's going to show, here's what a bid bond is. Let me explain what a bid bond is first before I go in more into what it's going to show. A bid bond is telling the United States Treasury that this person with this CUSUP number that's tied to the birth certificate CUSUP number, because here's our court case number, so now a CUSUP number, it's tied to the birth certificate number. The bid bond is an order to begin liquidation of funds. You got to remember what's inside your Sesta QV trust. United States Treasury bonds. That is not liquid capital. You can't whip it out of your pocket and go spend it right now. It's got to be sold. So it's an order to the Treasury to begin to sell your your U.S. Treasury bonds. Start selling them. Create some liquid capital so that when we ask for it and we ask for the wire transfer, you'll have it available. That's what it is. Now, guess what? On the bid bond sheet is a settlement date. Not only is it a settlement date, but there's another date on there. So there's a date to begin to sell. There's a date on there that says by this date, we're hoping you'll have the penal sum available. And by this date is the date we expect to settle the account. 3 dates on the SF-273 that is done upon indictment. Now understand why I'm saying this and emphasizing it. You haven't been tried yet. You haven't been found guilty. You haven't been sentenced. Right? Guess what this date is? It will correspond to your sentencing date. This will correspond to your trial date. You haven't even been notified of your trial date yet, much less your sentencing date. This is upon indictment. Is this railroading? Is this a predetermined outcome or conclusion? I don't know. You tell me. Upon trial, SF-274 form. Performance bond. That's saying, hey, we just found the guy guilty. You're going to have to perform, Treasury. That's what it does. Notifies them that you better have that penal sum ready because you're going to have to perform. You go to sentencing, you get thrown in jail because your body is now held as surety for the bond. And she fills out the SF-275 form. That's a payment bond. You know what that is? It is a wire transfer order. And within, if court's sentencing is held at 9 o'clock in the morning, which they try and do, they'll get paid by 5. If it's later in the day, they'll get paid the following day. Direct wire transfer between the Treasury Department and the court, the federal court. Now, on the state level, looks a little similar, doesn't it? But this is out of the, instead of the Department of Fiscal Services, this is actually out of the GSA. So you go into state court, court clerk fills out the same kind of a form, only on paper. And guess what? They sell it to the federal court. All lower courts sell to the federal court. The court buys the CUSIP numbers, which were bonded and insured, and they pay the states, courts, through the GSA SF 23, 24, 25A form. Bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond. Same exact thing. All the federal government did is added a 2 in front of it. Well, no, they didn't. They added a 7 in the middle. What am I thinking? I'm not. Don't listen to me. No, that's all they did. It's added a 2 in the middle, 7 in the middle.
So this blueprint is why we have mass incarceration for profit.
Thank you.
Anywhere else in the world,
Sure.
Yeah, like you started out saying, this
Yeah.
is not free.
No. Look up your court. If you've got a court case coming up, who is your enemy? They're a private for-profit business owned by whom? How many no, no, they're not. They're just like a McDonald's franchise. The government sold every branch of government off.
Some of them are owned by judges.
That's right. Some of them are owned by judges. What would happen if you found out your head judge in your county courthouse owned the courthouse? Isn't that supposed to be a public building? See, remember what I said? There are two of everything. There's the United States of America, the de jure government that lives inside each one of us, that President Trump, through executive order, admitted and restored. Okay? And then there's the United States Corporation. Two separate animals. There's the state of Arkansas, which is a corporation, and there's Arkansas, a de jure government whose seats are vacant. Okay? What were the common law offices that they could never get rid of? Technically, there's 2.5 of them left. And the reason I say half is the sheriff's department. The sheriff, only one of them. Right? He's half because he's getting paid by the enemy and he's trying to be a de jure government, so he's under conflict and one cannot serve two masters. Okay? Then you have justices of the peace and notary republics. Look at your notary forms very carefully. Your notary forms can say state of Arkansas or they can say Arkansas state. They can say county of, what was it?
Washington.
County of Washington, or they can say Washington County. They can say notary, or they can say notary republic. Make sure you're using notary forms that describe the jurisdiction that you're in. Because otherwise you can walk in with the best sovereign document into a court, being in common law, and have the wrong notary form, and the judge goes, ha, ha, ha. I'm not going to tell you why, but you're mine, buddy. Right?
When you say notary public, all I've seen is notary public.
There's both. A lot of them say notary.
There is a notary republic?
Yes. Notary public. Notary public, not republic.
So I said a notary public.
Yes, notary publics. That's a common law office. Officer. If you take your notary public and you say as jurat certificate, and then Arkansas State and Washington County, and you autograph it on the right-hand side by, now you've got a common law document. Who's an officer of the court. So it's already accepted by the court the second the notary signed it. Most people don't know that. So they do their documents wrong. Go ahead.
City municipality runs the state runs the state, or municipality in the same thing?
Franchises. What if McDonald's bought Burger King? And then Burger King bought Wendy's? See? Just subsidiary corporations.
Like SF 73, 273, they have a similar bond.
States, which are all your counties included, work out of the GSA, and the federal works out of the Department of Fiscal Services. It's all the same stuff, and it's all sold to the feds.
Will these ownership documents of these courts have to be recorded with the Secretary of State if it's a private business? Do they not have to?
What's that?
What will the paperwork, the documents be found on who owns these courts? Will they be at the Secretary of State or will they be at that county courthouse?
They don't even register their corporations, except in D.C. I'll bet you the state of Arkansas has an address at 444 West Washington Boulevard, Washington, D.C.
North Capitol Boulevard.
Okay, North Capitol? Okay, yeah, they have different addresses. Every state corporation is registered in D.C. as a subsidiary. Guess what? So is the United States. It's registered under the District of Columbia, which is registered under the Crown Inc. How do you like them apples?
David, is 273, SF 273, is that available by FOIA?
Go to the Department of Fiscal Services website and you can pull up the blanks.
Oh, okay.
See, the average American doesn't go to the Department of Fiscal Services website for anything. It is designed for court clerks to go to the Department of Fiscal Services website. And they ask questions, and you can learn a lot by the questions and answers. It'll show the questions if you click on them, and you don't know to do this, but if you click on them, it'll pull the answer up of the Department of Fiscal Services answering the court clerks. Like, what do you do with a case whose value is more than $100 million? And the Department of Services, when you click on it, because Mary asked that question during the Bundy trials, their case was valued at more than $100 million. That's how much the court would have got. Yeah. And guess what? Well, I was on Ryan Bundy's legal team and Shauna Cox's legal team. And we got them all off. Okay? It wasn't the darn attorneys that did it. It was Shauna Cox and Ryan Bundy who got them all off. You got to understand that. Okay? So, why? Because we fired their attorney. We filed documents in court 3 times, answering the rule of 3. See, Ryan Bundy, he would carry his Bible and he would carry his Constitution into the courtroom. And the U.S. Marshals would confiscate it at the door. And he asked the judge one time, how come I can't bring my Bible and the Constitution into the court? She says, you're not a party to it. Well, that pissed me off. So I came into the picture with that comment. And I said, enough is enough. Ryan, we're going to make it an American state national. We're going to file in the county of your birth. We're going to send it to the Secretary of State. We're going to do a patent of nativity on you. We're going to do a deed of reconveyance on all your names in every which way, shape, and form. And we're going to get it done right now. And then I'm going to start filing documents in your court case. Ryan says, okay, let's do it. And he sat in jail for a while and he was tortured. And we'd enter a document. And I knew the rule of 3 hadn't happened. He's going, well, how come the document didn't work? I said, just hold on. Give us some time. I know this process. File another one. He goes, shoot, we filed 2 now. And now people from the outside are starting to attack us, right? You're screwing everything up, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I just shut up, don't listen to them. We file another document. All 3 of them said about the same thing. We just said it in 3 different ways. And we established his status, his standing, challenged their jurisdiction. We pointed out the fraud. Guess what? There's no statute of limitations on fraud and jurisdiction, right? And we pointed it out. And so as soon as we got that 3rd document filed, I said, Ryan, Monday morning, you've got a court hearing again. Here's what I want you to do. I said, I want you to stuff some toilet paper in the bottom of your pocket. And where there's orange jumpsuits with one pocket, right? Stick some toilet paper in the bottom because I want that Constitution sticking up as far as it can possibly stick up. And walk into the courtroom and watch what happens. And he walks in and the U.S. Marshals smile at him, shake his hand. They know this stuff. And the other attorneys for the other guys, and the only ones that went to jail were the ones that signed plea deals, by the way. Everybody else went home, the ones that refused to sign. And he walks in, and nobody took his Constitution. And he sat down and he watched the attorneys of the other guys question a federal witness most of the day. And he just sat there. And the last one got done and told the judge, the defense rests. And the judge looks over at Ryan and says, Ryan, and she smiled real big, and she says, Ryan, would you like to question the witness? Ryan hadn't been allowed to talk since the very first hearing. Every time he went to a hearing, He couldn't talk. And now all of a sudden the judge is asking him if he wants to question the federal witness. Shocked him to the core. But he said, yes, I do. And he walks up to the witness and he says, how long have you been a federal officer? And the guy said, 22 years. And Ryan says, when you took office, did you swear an oath to the Constitution? And he says, yes, I did. And Ryan gets all cocky and he says, well, have you read it? And the guy says, no. And so for 3.5 hours, Ryan went through the Constitution with him and questioned him and asked him and corrected his answers when they were wrong until he agreed. Finally, Ryan says, I'm all done with this witness. And they left. And they all went back to jail. It went a half an hour over till 5:30, and they closed at 5. And they were religious about that. And it went a half an hour over. Thursday, after the Monday of that hearing, they came back for a hearing, and the case was dismissed. And everybody thought it was the Wooten memo. Well, let me tell you how dumb of that statement is. The Wooten memo was already brought up in motion and was denied. They couldn't bring it up. But some senator from the state of Washington got a hold of the Wooten memo and put it on national TV, and everybody thought the Wooten memo is the reason the case was dismissed. I'm here to tell you right now is because Ryan established a status standing as jurisdiction, and he was able to talk about the Constitution. And from that moment on, it was a constitutional court of record with a summary judgment. That's simple. That's simple.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to us, all these bonds that are released on us at our birth, or are they just used against us, so to speak,
Well,
by the system?
right now, they're used against you. Prior to 1999, we could get a few things paid off with our bonds. Most people since then who state that are lying to you, or they end up in jail for fraud and doing it. Why? Because the country went through another bankruptcy in 1999. And they went through another one in 2011. This country just keeps going into bankruptcy,
Now there's no way to
changing
tax
little
us.
tiny things, and then they hold the debt. The courts collect off this system $1 trillion a day.
And we can't collect.
I wasn't going to tell you that because it shocks people to the core. $1 trillion a day, that's more in 25 days than our entire gross domestic product of the United States. Where is the money in this country? It's in the bond market.
So it's ledgers, it's just ledgers, it's not gold and silver.
It's not backed by gold and silver, no. It's backed by your labor. You are the full faith and credit of the United States government. All under that umbrella of the Public Charitable Trust. All says to QB Trust are the full faith and credit of the United States government. All 327.2 million people. However, the majority of them all live in Washington, D.C., like you all. And the reason I'm telling you that is if you haven't repudiated your citizenship with the Secretary of State as Title 8, Section 1101A21, a state national, the only one with limited diplomatic immunity as per the Geneva Convention, your status is in Washington, D.C. because of the sheer way you write your address on your mail. If you put a zip code on your mail, you're in the District of the District of Columbia, and you just reside as a resident in Arkansas temporarily to do business, because that's the definition of the word resident. Someone there temporarily to do business. See, I'm a people, a man, a living soul, a son of God, an inhabitant. No, I won't be a citizen of anything.
Ephesians, 2 Ephesians 19, God says we're citizens, fellow citizens.
It got perverted. And it's also with the lower C. In all of our United States documentation, it's a large C. And then it got perverted. City means municipal. Zen means society. We were supposed to be members of society, but they changed the definition to municipal instead of member. Got perverted. Now we can't be a citizen of anything. You're state national. You're in Arkansas.
Can you talk about the path, David?
Yeah, I was going to do that tomorrow, but
Okay.
You said I could have a question earlier, remember? Okay.
yeah, I remember.
Previous page. Passports,
Mhm.
are those CI?
What's the Constitution say? It says to be safe in your papers and your effect.
Are they issued papers you were talking about earlier?
Your passport is your papers and your effect. That the Constitution, understand what a Constitution is. It's a compact. We the people lay down the law. How many people have read The Law of Nations by Vattel besides him? What? 1, 2, 3, 4 people have read The Law of Nations. That is the first international law document ever written for international law. That's how nations were founded, how nations were set up.
Since the passport is universally recognized, that means that this ownership of labor is almost all countries?
197 of them last count. So far, 14 of them backed out in Zurich in July when I was there. I got 14 sovereign nations to sign a pact in Zurich last month, July, not last month. We're in September, month before last. I lose track. Yeah, 14 sovereign nations so far. I'm working on 50.
David, tomorrow we're going to talk about a passport, state national versus state citizen. So
Okay.
you all can be aware that that's going to be answered directly, correct?
If I don't, remind me.
We will.
Okay. It's hard to cover everything in a short period of time. And I'm also, believe it or not, as much as I've showed you already, I'm trying to keep it very simple and duplicatable. We can make this very complicated. I'm saying don't.
Well, do you have any templates?
God, I hate that word.
Right?
I hate that word, template.
Any go bys?
Yes, I have 350,000 documents on this computer right here. And then some. Probably another 10,000 books on there. So yeah, there's templates for everything. God, I hate that word. Forms and templates. Those are the downfall. Never fill out a government form. Who wrote forms? Attorneys. Attorneys control government. They control the legislature. They have usurped every branch of government. Trump, in all the good that he tries to do while he's being beat to death, he has to run to attorneys to see if it's okay. Or he does it, and then it goes to attorneys, and they either overrule him or they don't. But attorneys, bar members, control every branch of government. We're supposed to have 4 branches of government, right? No, 5. People are freaking out right now. 5. We the people are the first branch of government. We're it. We the people lay down the law. It's that simple. That in which we the people create, we control. Maximum law. That in which one creates, one controls. And how come they're controlling you? Because they created the U.S. citizen. The 13th Amendment of the Constitution freed the black slaves, and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution made you all slaves and created the U.S. citizen, the person, the resident, the 10 districts. They expanded the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. all across the United States into 10 districts of the District of Columbia. You don't believe me? Go to the state of Arkansas and get a federal indictment. And where are you tried? You're tried in the, what district is this? The 8th district of the District of Columbia. You're not tried in Arkansas. You might think you are because you walked in a building somewhere on the map. But you're tried in the District of Columbia in a federal court. Why? Because you used your zip code on something. You said, I'm a citizen. You checked the box when you got your driver's license, your social security number, your passport, your voter ID, whatever. You checked some darn box. You know, you committed a felony when you did that? It is illegal, according to the United States Code, to claim to be a citizen when you are not. And you did not go through the steps necessary, and we proved this in court too. There's certain steps necessary to become a citizen. If somebody comes from Mexico or Canada and they want to be a citizen of the United States, they have to go through certain steps to become a citizen. You have to follow those steps, and none of you did it. You're just claiming to be. And they let you get away with that felony because that's what they want you to be. Because then you're in their control.
Is there a way around it?
Yeah,
We'll give you a thumbs up then tomorrow.
sure. Sure. I feel like I'm the only free person in the country sometimes. Right?
My friend has that passport.
What's that?
My friend has the passport that,
It's just being an American state national. In Title 8, Section 1101 is your definitions of status. And you, each and every one of you, have the unalienable right of self-determination. Something no government can take away from you. God gave you the free agency. He gave you dominion over the land, air, and water. Okay? Which is the law. Jurisdictions. Okay. Land, air, and water. I told that, right?
No,
No? Oh my gosh, where am I?
that was last night.
That was last night. That's what's messed me up.
I know that.
You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. In Genesis 1, 26 through 28, God gave me, man, dominion over the land, the air, and the water, and everything therein. It's His. It's not mine. I am the steward, the ambassador. I do His work, and I'm there to take good care of it. That's what I'm charged with. But He also did something else. He gave us free agency, the right of self-determination, to determine what was best. And sometimes we're screw-ups, and we make mistakes. Right? But that's how we'll be judged. The land, and by the way, the Vatican confirmed all this starting in 1455 with the first 3 testamentary trusts signed over an 81-year period, setting aside, they didn't set aside nothing. God already gave it to us in the Bible. All they did is confirmed it, okay? And then I'm going to say that about the Constitution, about the anything. The Constitution didn't give us any rights. We already had them. All they did is confirmed our rights. The jurisdiction of the land, the air and the water, and this is law. I started at the beginning, and I don't know how I got off track, but I said we were going to hold court. Who wants to be the judge? Remember that? This is what I've asked probably close to 300 judges and prosecutors, this question. What is the law? Where did its origins come from? How did we arrive at this thing called law where a small group of men could put something down on paper and hold me, a man, accountable? And then I shut up. I let them answer. And they screw it all up. They get it wrong every time. Most of them are compartmentalized legal idiots, and they don't know. And that's what we all are. We're all compartmentalized legal idiots in every job we do and everything we do, because we don't know the big picture. We're compartmentalized. See, if I'm a con man and I want to pull off a con job and I want to rip off 1 million people and I've got to hire 100 people to help me do that, if I told them what the con was, they'd all quit. Why? Because people are basically good, honest, and moral people. So what do? I need them to help me. I compartmentalize them. You're the getaway driver, and you break down the door, and you hit the vault, and you watch the people, whatever. I'm using those as stupid examples, but you compartmentalize them. Well, that's our county clerks and our real estate agents and our cartographers and our appraisers and our mortgage brokers and our court clerks, and that's how they steal your house from you on behalf of the state. You put them all together as a conspiracy to defraud, and I can prove it. It's also, in another realm, it's our police officers and our prosecutors and our defense attorneys and our judges and our court clerks, and they do a conspiracy to defraud, and I can prove it. And on and on and on. If I want to pull off a con job, I just got to compartmentalize everybody. And then I can go rip them off. And rip off millions of people. See? And a small group of greedy bankers counseled by Edward Mandell House on Jekyll Island, set up this whole plot based upon little things England did years before, because Mandell House studied it. He didn't just make it up one day. Okay? He followed the leader, but he was smart enough to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So the government hides everything in plain sight. Everything. Everything is in print. It's all hidden in plain sight. They just don't put it in one book. They put this little piece of the puzzle in this book, in this law, and this little piece in this law, and they put it up. It's guys like me who read it all, study it all, put the pieces of the puzzle together, try and reduce it down to the simplest so I can teach you. That's it. I didn't make this stuff up. Not in my wildest dreams could I have thought of this. I had to learn it. Right? So, got off track. I didn't even finish the story of the mother. That's terrible. Land, air, and water. The land is common law. Anybody see what I did with my pen? Now I want to tell you something. The air is higher than the land, and if you go into the water, you're going to drown and die. It's that simple. The land is common law, common to all mankind, set aside by the First Testamentary Trust of 1455, with the trustee given to King Ferdinand of Spain. King Ferdinand of Spain was in charge of all the land in the world. So he built a fleet of ships to go collect his treasure. And we'll talk some about that too. Common to all mankind. It is property, rights, property. How did I do this? And equity. Rights, property, and equity. The jurisdiction of the air is ecclesiastical or canon law, which is trust law. The water is admiralty or commerce, which is contract law. That's it. That is our 3 jurisdictions. Juris means right law. Which of those 3 is the right law that we're talking about, that we're standing under, that we're in this situation? Juris. Diction means words. You look words up in the dictionary. The words you use determines the right law under which you stand. Land, air, or water. So one Mr. Prosecutor a minute ago misused the word jurisdiction on purpose to confuse the general public and everyone else in this courtroom. When he said it was in the county's jurisdiction, what he really meant to say was locus or venue, location or venue. It's in the county's venue. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you're in the city, the county, the state, the federal government, this agency or that agency, they all operate in one jurisdiction. Contract law. We, the people, can create a private trust, and we can operate in ecclesiastical or canon law. We, the people, cannot harm our neighbor. Love thy neighbor and do no harm. You can break no other law, and we would be in common law. We can have a land patent, and we cannot go into foreclosure. See, if you're going into foreclosure, it's because of a contract. And it's because they stole your property probably before you even bought it, and definitely the day you bought it. You haven't owned a house in your whole life, unless you hold a land patent. All property shall be in land patent. All property shall be described in metes and bounds. Not lot 27 of block 3 of Spring Hill subdivision, Fayetteville, Arkansas. What did I just say? I said the county cartographer and the county appraiser and the county tax assessor re-described your property as commercial, industrial, or residential property, which are all commercial terms, and stole your private property from you by re-describing your property as lot 27 of block 3 of Spring Hill subdivision, Fayetteville, Arkansas. And they took the land patent number off of your invoice, and they put a lot, block, and tax number on there. And they put your person name and your address in the District of Columbia. And they made all manner of errors. And they sent it to you as a tax statement, which is an invoice. And you looked at the invoice and you wrote them a check and you paid it. So you agreed to the contract. And you acquiesced, and they stole your property. In fact, it wasn't until I owned a real estate company, 2 mortgage companies, and a title company, and 2 land development companies. And I had a construction company and a specialty building supply company all at the same time. And I was running all these companies that I learned that a title officer, when a husband and wife comes in to sign their mortgage documents and they get all done, the title officer is trained to say, "And how would you like to hold title?" And you look at each other and you say, "I don't know, what are our options?" And she says, "Well, most husbands and wives hold title in joint tenants in common." And you look at each other and you go, husband, wife, that's joint, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Joint is husband and wife. Tenants is renter. Common is state. Joint renters to the state. Geez, that's how you hold title. And then you get foreclosed on and you wonder why. You could walk into court with all the proof of fraud you want on the mortgage company and the mortgage broker, and the judge rules for who? The mortgage company or the mortgage broker against you. Because he doesn't want to tell you didn't own your property in the first place. I don't know, slap yourself, say you were stupid, and call it a day. No, I'm just saying, that's what happens, right? We didn't know any better. It's not our fault. Somebody is some
How you want to hold property, what do you say?
land patent. It's private property.
How do you follow that patent?
It's already there.
It's already there, you
All properties are in land patent.
okay.
I just looked one up in Pennsylvania for a guy and helped him file his land patent, and it was land patent number 402, signed by James Madison.
Way back. Golly, okay.
The 402nd land patent issued in the state of in the United States was in the state of Pennsylvania.
That's the right state.
I go for a loan closing Monday morning. I'd sure like to talk to you.
Gosh, the 11th hour and 55th minute is a good time. So
You're still saying that it's part of.
there's an underlying land patent. It's land patent number 2347.
Are you laying claim?
A part and parcel thereof described as from this township and this range, yeah, meets and bounds. 497 feet to this corner and whatever, right? You put the meets and bounds description.
Make sure that's wrong.
Not a description that says lot 27 of block 3 is Spring Hill subdivision, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Ah, yeah, you see? And they don't even use Arkansas, they use AK or AR. AR, I was in Alaska for a minute. Okay, you see what I mean? They make all kinds of errors. See, we only have two jobs. We only have two jobs in life. One is to correct the errors our public servants make, and the other is to educate them so they never do it again. Unfortunately, those are full-time jobs.
I just see that you'd have to have probably some kind of a surveyor to get these descriptions.
Nope. Go to the cartographer's office somewhere. Go to the title company's office. Go to your county land records. Somewhere there became an abstract of title.
Most abstracts are hard,
What's that?
most abstracts are hard.
Everything's an abstract now. A warranty deed is an abstract of title.
I think most of them have been burnt by title companies.
Oh, well. You're talking about not abstracts. Yeah, what they're using now is abstracts. See, a land patent has to have a grant deed to his heirs, successors, and/or assigns. Anything from the dirt down is the land. Everything that's an improvement is real estate. So a real estate agent comes in and lists your property. He's selling everything or he or she is selling everything from the ground up and just giving the land away under some kind of abstract of title. Did you know that? Yeah. Here I got this great piece of dirt over here, and they're selling me the improvements. That's what a real estate contract is. Real estate is the improvements. It's an estate. It's the heir. You can't have an estate on something God created. He can give us dominion over that, and we can be good stewards of that, but it ain't inherited to me. The stewardship is what's inherited. His heirs, successors, and/or assigns. Real estate is sold. Land patents can't be sold. They must be granted. That's why a grant deed is the only real deed. Everything else, a quitclaim, a warranty deed, those are all abstracts of title. See? And we wonder why our house gets foreclosed on. I lost $9 million in real estate between 2008 and 2010. I gave most of it back to the banks. If I would have known that then. Now I have 3 pieces of property and they're all under land patent.
Teach us tomorrow how people go about doing that, or is it?
We're going to talk processes tomorrow. I'm trying to give you some basic education, as much as I can give in a short period of time, to try and teach you to be teachers, to talk to people in simplicity. Now I know I've covered a lot of crap today, and that doesn't seem right now in your brain, because your brains are starting to go, that it's simple. But believe me, this is about as simple crayon as I could get, all right? And this is the issue. So we're holding court. There's 3 types of law. 3 juris. Now there's diction. That determines which juris you're in. Let me say 2 sentences. Both sentences are going to mean the same thing, going down a road in a car. Okay? First sentence is, as a free man, I can travel in private upon the highways with nothing but my passport as my papers and my protection, and I am lawful. Pay attention to the words, the diction. Second sentence. As a citizen, I can drive or operate a motor vehicle with my driver's license, insurance, proof of registration upon the roadways. As long as I'm following all the statutes, I am legal. See, if I walked into a Chevy dealership, I happen to like Chevys, and I drive Chevy Silverado pickups at home. Have 5 of them. Used to have 26. That's another story. And if I walk into a Chevy dealership and I want to buy a brand new Chevy Silverado, and I whip out $70,000 and I set it on the desk, do all the paperwork, he'll say, great. Salesperson's smiling, he's going to make a good commission that day. I'm happy, I've got my brand new truck. And then he says something to me that makes me mad. He says, I need another $185 for license, title, and registration. And I get out and I write him a check, and I hand him the $185 check. I just gave the state of Oregon my $70,000 truck as a gift. Wasn't that nice of me? Now they're going to give me a certificate of title back that's going to give me the opportunity to make a profit or incur a loss in the lease of that vehicle. That's what it says in the law. An opportunity to make a profit or incur a loss in the lease of that vehicle. But the state owns it. They've got the manufacturer's statement of origin. Or if you drive a BMW, a Porsche, a Volvo from a European, it's a manufacturer's certificate of origin, MCO or MSO. And the state owns that. And the state holds on to it. And they give you a certificate of title, which is an abstract of title. Okay?
For a while there, they did take it out, but for a while there, they were actually putting surrender your ownership papers here in the actual license bureaus.
Yeah.
Surrender your
Yeah.
ownership papers.
They used to do that with your gold or silver between 1933 and 1935 too. It's under the fine or imprisonment of $10,000.
Surrender your gold.
Yeah. My grandfather was a geologist for the state of California.
You know, they actually had a Walton's episode.
He gave over $1 million worth of gold.
The Walton's
Surrendered it.
actually worked for gold coins. He had to debate whether to turn into gold coins.
Right, right. See, that's why I have some silver right here. People say, hey, you don't use real money. I say, yes, I do. It's got the Liberty Bell right there. That's my Liberty. Okay. But that's the issue. We operate off Federal Reserve notes, which is legal tender. It does not pay off or discharge a debt. It tenders it to a later date. Remember when I was doing the balance sheet? Should have went into this a little more in depth. But I keep thinking I'm going to run out of time, right? So I don't cover everything as thoroughly as I wish I could, because we'd be here a while. But it tenders it to a later date. They keep track of it through your bank statements and your tax returns. Everything that you spend. See, the story of a mother, when you reach 18, your job's to go out there in the world, gather up as much as that Federal Reserve note loaned that the IMF gave as you can, and then go out and spend it. And all that thing, you bought a $200,000 house and a $70,000 Chevy Silverado and $50,000 worth of utilities over your lifetime, and it's all kept track of through your bank statements. Every time that's why you have to have a Social Security number, EIN number, or TIN number to open a bank account, because they report to the Federal Reserve. They keep track of your Social Security trust, all your debit side, everything you spend, everything you make. All right? Some of these doctors that go out and make $2 million a year or more, their CQV is worth billions of dollars because they just keep assigning more custom numbers. This guy's good. I'm just going to invest in him. I'll buy some more bonds and reinsure him and give him another custom number he doesn't know about. And if the government's not getting enough money out of the $1 trillion a day they take out of the court system in the United States, the Department of Fiscal Services tells you that the Department of Justice is the largest contributor to the federal budget by far. See, here's something I did last night. I drew a little circle with a little pie. And I said, this is our taxes. And this is the federal government's budget. And then we got a little bit more on tariffs, and that's grown because of Trump. These are tariffs, and these are taxes. Tax and terror, right? Where's all this money come from? Department of Fiscal Services will tell you the Department of Justice is the biggest contributor to the federal budget by far. $1 trillion a day. And we think our taxes buy roads. Now your gas tax buys roads. Every time you go to the pump. Roads are highways. They're postal roads. They're free. We support them with our gas that we purchase. See, we asked the federal government, we the people asked the federal government to provide us with 19 essential governmental services and no more. And the and no more, I feel for you. That's hard sitting this long. I understand your pain, okay? 19 essential governmental services and no more. That's the contract we signed called the Compact that we went through our states as state nationals, we the people, and the states got together and signed the Constitution, the Compact or contract with the federal government, asking the federal government to provide 19 essential governmental services and no more. That's the most important part of that, and no more. How many do they provide us with today? Oh man, and they force us at gunpoint to pay for it, right? No, free phones, right? All kinds of services, privileges they provide. Who wants a privilege? Every time you get a privilege, you give up a right. I'd rather have my rights than my privileges. I don't want any privileges, okay? So tell me when it's 9:30. Everything I do is open source, all right? I don't believe in charging a whole bunch of money. I have a kind of an agreement with my wife that as long as my expenses are covered, I can go do this hobby, okay? And don't take out of our home budget. So that's it. So that's what I try and charge. Now I do help a lot of people. So I do take donations throughout the year, and almost all that money I've dedicated to others. A lot of times I run into young families whose kids have just been taken and they don't even have money to file court documents. They don't have money to do them. They don't have money for the mailings and the service and all that stuff, and I'm always putting money out for that kind of stuff.
And you will be coming back for us and do another seminar in the future. Once we learn your processes, I'm sure we're going to need some advanced training. And
you know what? There's a lot of that. There's
right.
a lot of advanced training, things that can be done.